Thank you for joining us today. We'd like to give you an introduction to the Hydrawise software for your irrigation controller. You should already have the app on your phone, and so let's go ahead and open the app, and we'll get to the Hydrawise software. Just waiting for the program to populate here. Looking at this controller, which is a sample controller set up here in our office. As we look at the home screen, we can see at a glance all the zones that are identified, with zone number 1 being the front lawn at the street, zone 2, front lawn at the house, and so on around the house until you get to the very last zone, which would be number 8 on the side of the garage, and then finally the landscape zone number 9. If I scroll down, I can see the forecast, which this system is using to execute some watering triggers and some adjustments. Temperature observations, rainfall. No sensors are connected to this controller, and the controller status, which is showing an orange check mark here, meaning that it is not connected to the internet. For your controller, this circle should be green, and you're connected, and everything is good to go. Scrolling back up to the top, we can see that zone number 5 is actively operating, showing this indication here. If I want to shut that down in any circumstance, I can tap on that icon. It brings up this new window, and in that window I have a red box which would be stop, and if I execute that, it will stop that zone from actively operating. So let's dig into that window a little bit more. Zone number 1, I tap on the icon. The blue information button brings us to zone details. Zone number 1 is watering based on a time that we tell it to water. Its next watering cycle. The frequency is every program start time for 25 minutes. And this zone is permitted to water. It's set up to water twice a day, which is a typical scenario for new sod being laid, and some additional details about run times. So we can click OK. Go back to that window again. If I want to operate any zone on a one-time operation, I can tap on that icon, open up this window, and hit the green arrow. And I've gotten to the remote screen, which is going to operate zone number 1 for 25 minutes because that's what is pre-programmed for. And if I hit the start button, it will begin that zone on a manual command. It's now already gone down to 24 minutes as the clock ticks down for this zone to fulfill the runtime. I can close this window either here or up at the top, and I go back to my dashboard and see that zone 1 is actively operating. Again, if I don't want a zone that's currently operating to continue, I can tap on that icon, hit the stop button, and it'll stop that zone from operating. So let's continue on to the zones menu down here at the bottom. Tap on zones, and this is where I define how long the zones will operate. Master valve setting, drop down list, I get yes or not assigned. We want to leave that as yes. You do have a master valve on your system, so that should always say yes. Zone number 1, this first window, and I can see all the zones at a glance if I just continue scrolling down to the very bottom, zone number 9, and then I'm at the end, in which case I could add a zone if we had one to add to the system. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Zone number 1, if I want to hit this red trash can, I will completely delete the zone and remove it from the program, but we obviously don't want to do that. The picture plus icon will save a picture. If you'd like to take a photograph of the zone and save it as an identifying component to this definition, you can do so here. Pencil on paper means I'm going to edit the zone details, and we've already seen this blue eye icon, which is just information. So we'll tap on the blue, or the pencil on paper. Zone details. Number 1, you can change the definition of this zone to anything you'd like. It is zone number 1. We're going to leave this as it is. You can change the icon to anything you like. We're doing this zone setup on a time-based schedule. You do have the option for Smart ET, Smart Schedule, which the system can make some own decisions on when it operates, and the Virtual Solar Sync, which is not necessarily one of our favorites. But when we are going and dealing with brand new sod, we want to be on a time-based schedule. I'm going to hit Next to go to the time-based schedule, and we're entering the time and frequency below. And this one is set for 25 minutes. This is a rotor zone set for 25 minutes. Turf rotor meaning that it's got a jet stream of water or multiple fingers of water, and it's going to take about 25 minutes to put down a 1/3 inch of precipitation. So this zone, which is rotors, is going to be set for 25 minutes. Every program start time. These predictive watering models are set on for this zone. And I'm going to come back to these in the watering triggers section. So predictive watering, we're going to go ahead and leave these toggled on for each category. The watering more often than hot is an option that if you select this, it'll give the system the ability to water more than once per day based on temperatures. Go ahead and hit Next. Cycle and soak. We would look to execute a cycle and soak for an extreme hillside where there is a steep hill in which the water would run off quickly. So if your yard is relatively flat, then we're going to leave this on Do Not Enable Cycle and Soak. So let's go ahead and hit OK. And we're back to the beginning. So zone number 1 is rotors, 25 minutes. 2 rotors, 25 minutes. 3 is going to be on the side of the house. It's a spray zone, which is set for 12 minutes. Now, sprays are fixed position. They're covering anywhere from, say, 10 feet to 15 feet. And if they're covering that entire area the entire time, so they don't have movement of water like the rotors do. And the general rule of thumb is that to create the same amount of precipitation, if the rotors are doing 1/3 inch of water in 25 minutes, spray zones will do 1/3 inch of water and the half of the amount of time. So we have that set for 12 minutes here. And you can manipulate any of these zones to be the time that you choose. Like if you get a zone that's on the side of the house and it's a lot of shade and a neighbor's got an irrigation system too, they're watering the side of their house, then you can adjust the setting from 12 minutes down to 10 or 5 or even just a few minutes. Okay, so now that we're at the top of the zones and schedules section, we're going to go to program start times. And for this controller, we've got a 4:30 a.m., a 5 a.m., and a 1 p.m. The first program at 4:30 a.m. is set for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's only dealing with the front landscape bed. If I wanted to trash this, I'd hit the trash can. If I want to edit it, I'd go to the pencil on paper. Program number 2 is watering zones 1 through 8. It is all of the turf zones. So by doing this here and this here, we are separating the landscape from the sod. So the new sod's going to get more water, or the turf's going to get more water in this program, and the landscape is only going to get 3 days a week, so it's not going to get overwatered. Program number 3 at 1 p.m. has normal watering every day of the week, all zones. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make an edit to this zone. So I'm going to hit the pencil on paper. 1 p.m. is a good setting. I'm going to change the days of the week. So if I want to toggle a couple days of this week off, I can do so by just removing the days or tapping on those days. And now this particular program is going to run Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. If I hit the next button, it shows the selected zones, which applies to all zones. I'm going to tap on that because I want to get to selected zones. So from this screen, the zones that I want to select are the turf only, because again, I don't want to overwater that landscape. So as I tap on zone 1, it drops to this second window, and I'm going to continue that process and take all of those down, leaving zone number 9 untapped. So the zones that are going to be in effect for this program are zones 1 through 8, and I'm going to hit OK. We can see that the layout has changed for the 1 o'clock start time. It's similar to the 5 a.m. zones 1 through 8. 5 a.m. is running every day of the week. The 1 p.m. start time is running 4 days a week. So now all these programs are good, and we can continue on to the next screen. Down at the bottom here, we have a remote function. We've already seen this, but there's a couple other details that we can do. So single zone, multiple zones, or I can pick programs, and I could choose between one of the 3 programs that we have set up. So if I wanted just to water the landscape, I could tap on the landscape program, which we know starts at 4:30 a.m., and click Run Now, and it would operate that particular program. We'll go ahead and close that. Up here at the top, you've got a 3-bar menu, and we've already seen the home screen. We've seen zones and schedules. Let's go to watering triggers. And this is the watering triggers where they are adjustable, and the controller can change and alter the watering cycles based on some weather dynamics. First one we see, don't water when today's forecast is below 60 degrees. We can toggle this and adjust it to any setting that we like, and we can turn it on or off. If I turn it off right here, then that category is off for all programs in the system. We have similar toggles in the zone definitions, and you can toggle any one of these off on a zone-by-zone basis if we do it in those zone definitions. Water 30% less when the forecast is below 75 degrees, and these are all referenced to high temperatures of the day. I can adjust this slide trigger here to the setting of choice, and everything we have set up are baselines. And I can change the percentage from 30% to 40% or whatever setting you'd prefer. Water 30% more if it's over 90 degrees. Don't water when there's a forecast of rain higher than 80%. Don't water when the wind exceeds 20 miles an hour. We want to use the forecast temperature for smart watering and use the forecast rainfall for smart watering. Go back up to the top, and I can hit this next tab here, which is weather station adjustment. Do not water when the rainfall in the last 24 hours is more than 0.3 of an inch. Do not water if there's been more than 2 inches of rain in the last 3 days. Again, these can be toggled on or off to your liking. It's everything we got in the watering triggers. I'm going to go back to my 3-bar menu. Sensors. We don't have a sensor connected to your system, simply because the system creates a virtual weather station for you and uses more weather data as opposed to just a standard rain sensor. So we're going to go back to the 3-bar menu, controller settings. These are just baseline information on the controller here, but we want to go into the weather station setting, and your address should already be entered in, and when that is completed, it'll produce a map that shows the location of your controller based on the address that was provided. And if I tap on this blue button here, it's going to pull up the weather information, temperature, rainfall, humidity, wind speed, and that's what the weather data that this system is using to make adjustments to the system. And it's collecting that information from a number of other weather stations that are nearby. These are privately owned by homeowners. Move this map a little bit. These are privately owned by homeowners who invest in these sophisticated weather stations. They can be, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and when they do that, they connect them to a data center. This particular data center is weather underground, and then that information can be populated and used for our purpose of having a virtual weather station at or near your controller. So this creates a scenario that you're getting very accurate weather information for your controller to adapt to. There's other information in settings, offline adjustments, and what have you. Now the controller, if we go back to our home screen, the controller or the program is stored in the control box itself. So if you lose a data connection, the system will still continue to operate. It just will not have the ability to pull down weather information and use that weather information for any adjustments. You get one update of weather per day in a 24-hour period, and that's generally around or just after midnight. And then it will adjust the program accordingly after that. Let's hit in the 3-bar menu. You can go to reports. You can also do it from the bottom of your screen here. And in the first screen, we're going to look at, we see a forecast or a forward-looking view of the controller program. This is a week view. Let's go ahead to month view. And we can see that on this day, these programs are going to operate, and this is all the schedules that are in effect. And if I tap on any one of these icons, this is a normal watering cycle for 25 minutes, and you can expand this on a day view to see more information. But as I look forward, I go through these normal watering cycles, and if I look all the way into the next Friday, a week from now, it shows that there's a reduced watering due to temperature. So this is the watering triggers coming into play. And on this particular day, the current forecast is that the temperatures would be below 75 degrees. So as I look at this, this forward vision of the controller program, it's a fluid scenario. The watering triggers right now say that it's going to be a reduced watering next Friday. But if that weather changes, this program will change, and this outlook going forward will change. So if I come back here and I check this, say Monday the 12th, this may be completely different. If we get a rain day, you would see that these little tag lines, these colored bars, will be crossed out, and that the watering cycle would be aborted due to rain or due to forecast. So it's predictive in nature, and it's a fluid program looking forward. We can also see the watering history, and in this scenario we don't have any history because this is a brand new controller. Excuse me. So this is a brand new controller, and the watering history has not populated as of yet, but anytime you run a cycle, you will be able to see that the program is or that is recorded, and you can look back 30 days to see how much information or how much runtime your system has been using. Lots of other reports up here in weather, water usage, diagnostics, historical weather. A lot of information which we won't go into in this episode, but you can certainly take a look at those. All right, I'm going to go back to our home screen, and we're going to wrap this up by going to the gear button right here. And this gear button will be give you an option to run all zones, which is basically takes you to the remote screen where you can start a zone, multiple zones, or whatever you choose. If you have a manually started program or zones, you can stop that by hitting this button, or you can suspend the operation of the system. If I tap on that, it shows up with multiple zones because it's going to suspend the entire system. They would suspend it from now, this point right now, until a date of my choice. Tap on that drop-down list, and I could select a day. And this scenario would suspend the watering from now until the end of October 14th. So if I hit suspend, it's created the suspension for all the zones. You hit OK. And if I close that window, I look back at my home screen, you can see that all of these icons are frosted over, which is an indication that everything has been suspended. To remove that suspension, I'm going to go back to my gear, suspend all zones, and right here underneath all this, it shows a link to resume all watering for selected zones. I'm going to tap all that. Do you want to resume watering? We pick OK for yes. OK again. We close that, and now everything is back to normal. We can also suspend a zone individually by tapping on that zone, hitting the suspend icon, and suspend this to the end of the day. Hit OK. Note that watering for zone 3 is canceled until October 9th. Close that, and zone 3 alone is frosted over or suspended. All the other zones are still in operation. To remove the suspension, I can just hit the cancel right there, and it will be back in operation. All right, so that's going to sum it up for today. We do appreciate you sharing some time with us and getting introduced to the Hydrawise software. We will have more videos coming out soon, so please check back. And if you have any questions, you can give us a call at 636-223-2555. We appreciate you as a customer, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.